1607.
Alright, what's up everybody? This is your lesson on period 1 of APUSH, and this is going to focus particularly on the years 1491 to 1607. Okay, so to start off, the natives who lived in the Americas before European settlers came over were very numerous and extremely diverse. As to when those natives came over, we have absolutely no idea on the year of that. We think it was thousands of years ago. And as far as how many natives there were whenever European settlers got here, there's really no way of knowing. In the Americas as a whole, that's South America and North America, the idea is somewhere between 50 million and 100 million, but natives didn't really keep records like that, and they weren't one large group, so it's pretty much impossible to know. So Native Americans use the environment in a lot of different ways. That idea of natives who never ever touch the environment and leave it exactly like it was, there were some groups like that, but for the most part, Native Americans interacted with and changed the environment all the time. The main thing that you need to know about natives as far as their crops is that the staple crop for natives, for most native groups, but particularly the North American natives like Mexico and up, that staple crop was corn. What natives did and what they were like, how they survived, really depends on where they lived. And a little bit of geographic knowledge of the United States is extremely helpful in understanding how Native Americans survived and what each tribe did. Now, what this is not is going to be me talking about this is each tribe and this is what each tribe did, because that's not necessarily something you're going to need to know. What you'll need to know more is regional lifestyles. Depending on where they live in America, some tribes might have been hunter-gatherers, some tribes might have been fishermen if they lived on the bank of an ocean, if they lived on a river. Some tribes might have roamed because they lived in a place that was more desert and they needed to move from place to place to get what they needed to survive. And some tribes did all of these things. Some tribes were just straight up farmers. Some tribes were hunter-gatherers. It really just depended on where they were geographically in America. The big thing that you need to get from that is that Native Americans aren't now and never were just one large block. They were extremely sectionalized throughout the Americas. Okay, so now that we've talked natives very briefly, let's talk about settlers. Settlers primarily came from Spain, England, and France, particularly in this narrow window of time from 1491 to 1607. And they had different reasons for coming. For example, Spain was mostly motivated by money whenever they sent explorers over here. England was motivated by a whole lot of different things. We know the big one that we typically hear about is the religious reasons why a lot of settlers came over, but that wasn't it. Some people were part of joint stock companies where people back in England could make money based on what you got when you were in America, and the people moving over here came so that they could collect wealth. France was motivated mostly by the ability to ship items back to France, stuff like furs and all the other natural resources that we've got over here in North America, because we've got a lot. So these three countries are really competing with each other, Europe, France, and Spain. And what we're going to see later on as we get into this class is what we call the arms race, where the United States and the Soviet Union are building up and seeing who can get more weapons, or the space race, where the United States and the Soviet Union are trying to get to space, get the first man to space, get the first man to the moon. This could really be described as the land race, because France, England, and Spain are competing to see who can get the most assets in the new world, the Americas. Okay, so the big third thing is that everything in history changes when these two groups collide. When the settlers make contact with the natives, world history changes forever. This is called the Columbian Exchange. The Columbian Exchange is the exchange of goods, materials, wealth, and diseases between the old world, like Europe, and the new world, which is the Americas. The Columbian Exchange brings great material wealth to Europe, but the natives over in the Americas are on the very, very raw end of the deal. Because not only do the natives have people now kind of encroaching on their land, but they're also getting diseases that they have no immunity to. And this is going to take out massive percentages of the native populations. Also, these two cultures, separated by an entire world, the Europeans and the natives, have extremely different belief systems and values. A great example of belief systems colliding is whenever Spain comes over and sets up the encomienda system. The encomienda system primarily relates to below what we would call America now. This is more like Mexico. But what Spain does is essentially they come over and in a way enslave Native Americans and put them into a caste system with the promise to Christianize them, but Spain is primarily benefiting from this because Native Americans have to work for them. And this is really only the beginning, because more and more Europeans are going to be coming over into the New World, and these conflicts are only going to get worse and worse.